What would you say has been the biggest change in your life in the last year?
Creative control. I feel like I've got that now and I didn't before. Probably.
Has the vision changed as a result of that, or was the vision always the same, it just you weren't in control of it?
I think my vision probably changed because of it, you know what I mean? Like, I think that, like, I just wanted to be honest and I just wrote about stuff that felt relevant to me, and some of that was sad, some of it was angry, and, like, that's how I felt in that moment. I feel like the best thing about it is that you actually get to do what you want, and, like, I might feel one way this week, I might feel a different way next week, and that's cool, I'm into it, you know what I mean?
I mean, you see that reflected in the sounds of the album, the way that each, although there is a kind of overriding thread, at the same time a lot of the songs kind of take place in their own little worlds, both topically and in terms of the way that they sound too.
Yeah, I agree with that, for sure.
How do you go about picking out the threads that make it feel consistent then? If each song can very much take on a different thing for you, how do you kind of unify them and make them feel as one?
I think they're probably just in their spirit, you know what I mean? Like, that sounds a bit like hippie, but I think, like, maybe my turn of phrase and, like, the way I kind of say things, maybe I think continue, like, kind of like a thread in my record, you know what I mean? Like, probably my accent and my fucking, and the way, as much as I hate to say that, it's probably the truth, you know what I mean?
Just like having your own kind of songwriting voice.
Yeah, and, like, just the way, like, the scousness of it. You know what I mean? I feel like you never lose that in my songs, even if it's like, even if sonically they're a bit different. That's one thing that's always consistent.
Even to, like, dating back to, you know, you were saying that you kind of found creative control in the last year. Even before that, it was still very much something that was very present within it.
Yeah, because that's just something I've always, like, that's kind of like take it or leave it with my music, you know? Like, some people hate my accent, and that's the truth. Like, some people hate it and some people love it, so I mean, that's just what it is. I can't change that, unfortunately. Well, unfortunately, you know what I mean?
One of the other things that I really love about the album is the fact that you'll have songs like The Van is Evil that are very much looking at kind of broader world issues, and then you'll have the ones that are very much more intimate. Does the intention to write a song about a broader issue differ to the intention to write about something internal, do you think, for you? In terms of what sets you off on the path of writing a song in the first place?
That's a good question. I think so. I mean, like, I kind of, like, I write songs just when I'm feeling away, you know what I mean? And, like, actually, like, I can't write songs right in the moment when I'm upset. I have to, like, brew on it for a bit, you know what I mean? And I think that The Van is Evil in particular is something that I find myself, it's a subject I find myself thinking about a lot, because I care about the planet and I want to do good, and I see a lot of people in the world kind of trying to fight for, like, global issues, and it's hard because, like, people are like, oh, well, you do this and you do that, and we're all pointing fingers at each other, and it's like, well, we're all part of the problem, and everyone is a hypocrite. To exist on the planet is to burn fossil fuels at the point in time. And so, like, that song just came out of, like, frustration and, like, being like, I don't know what to do, but I feel weird about it, you know?
Well, like you say, it's like you can't really escape it. Like, you don't really have a choice unless you want to go off and live in the woods and be a hermit of some description. There's not really, you're going to be tied into it in some way.
If you're in modern society, you're involved. Yeah, so it's like, how people should just have more empathy, and I think, like, that's what I'm trying to say in the song, you know what I mean? It's like, people just need to listen more and actually just try and do a bit better.
Do you kind of see that message of having more empathy tying into some of the songs that are on the more kind of personal level too?
Yeah, definitely. That's something I think about every day. Like, I always try and think about other people's situations with empathy, because well, I don't know if you've ever seen that Adventure Time episode where it's like, empathy, put yourself in the shoes. It's a great Adventure Time episode on empathy. Everyone should watch it. It's amazing, and it puts it into perspective.
Did you not write a couple of songs for Adventure Time as well?
Yes, I did.
When was that? A few years ago now, or?
They came out in 2020.
Oh, was it just in 2020?
Yeah, but we wrote them in 2019.
Ah, okay. Adventure Time's wrapped up now, isn't it? Is it done? Maybe?
Yes. Well, no. Basically, like, Adventure Time was done, and then they had some specials called Distant Lands.
Okay.
And that's where I wrote the songs for Marceline and Glass Boy.
Okay.
And then they've got some new episodes coming out too.
Interesting.
Fiona and Cake, which I'm pretty sure has been announced.
Fingers crossed.
It has been.
That's an interesting idea, though, you know, having to write songs for a show, and what we were saying earlier on about kind of your own songwriting voice and the things that make it unique. Do you see that in those songs anyway? Do you see that in those songs too when you were writing for something else? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I do. Well, I do because I wrote them, but like, it also makes me like. I know it sounds weird, but it makes me so happy, like seeing people react to the songs online, like they're just Adventure Time songs, you know, like they're just created, like from the creator of the show, and like you see people freaking out underneath, and like that kind of gets me like in my heartstrings even more than a song with my voice and my face on it, because I'm such a huge Adventure Time fan and I always have been. So like the fact that that ever even happened is some simulation theory shit, bro. So it's just a trip. It's a real trip. But I hear myself in them, but I don't think that necessarily other people would.
I wanted to ask about Never Again and Endlessly as well, which are second, penultimate in the song prior to penultimate, because to me they feel like two of the most direct songs in the album, and yet at the same time they're very much at the opposing ends of the emotional spectrum. How did the process for them kind of differ as a result of that, and why did you decide to place them next to each other on the album when they were so kind of different in emotional tone?
I think because for me, it's just like, that's just like so typical of like my life in my 20s. You know what I mean? It's like 1 minute I'm like, fuck you, fuck this, and then the next minute I'm like, let's do it, let's go guys, we've got this, you know. And like that for me is like, that up and down, like, is something that I experienced a lot in my life. But those two songs were written about completely different things, you know. Like,
really?
Yeah, absolutely. Never Again is not about a relationship. Well, it is, but it's about a professional relationship. It's not about...
Yeah, I did kind of have that connotation to it in regards to what we were saying at the beginning of the chat, in creative control. Yeah.
And I wrote that song like ages ago, like when I was signed to Virgin, and that's when I wrote that song.
So you were writing it in the midst of that?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Did you send that song to anyone there?
Yeah, we recorded a version of
Really?
it. They never let me keep. So I had to re-record it. But yeah, and that was... It was a moment where I felt like probably the most like betrayed I've ever felt in my life, you know what I mean? Like I really trusted someone, and I was like... And they like 180'd on who I thought they were, and it was like, whoa! And that's the first time I've ever like been really angry enough to write something so like livid.
How long after that did it take you to kind of assemble a new team around you that you trusted and regain that trust in people who were trying to help you?
The music industry for me has been like one big learning curve on trusting people, you know. Like, it's one of those things where I've been doing it since I was a kid, and you never, like, it's so hard to like, you can beat yourself up for like trusting in people that you shouldn't have or whatever, but it's so hard to navigate, you know. And I think like I was lucky because when I left Virgin, nothing really changed in terms of like my team except them. So my managers are still here, still doing my thing. Like, we're tighter than we've ever been, and my band are the same, and my tour manager's the same, and my producer's the same, and the only thing that changed was the label. And it was hard. It was actually, at first I was like, I didn't know what to think of it. I was like, didn't fully trust that they were actually like, what's the catch? Like, okay, you're setting up your own label and we're going to do this, we're going to give you money to do this. And it felt like a bit like, all right, yeah, but what else, you know? And that hasn't come yet, so. It's been cool. It's been really cool. And I'm just trying to be grateful to be here and making music, because when that whole thing happened in the pandemic, I wasn't even sure of like anything. Like, no one was, but I really wasn't sure if I could even like had the capacity to keep going, you know.
I guess the pandemic could have been a better time for it to happen too, though, because everyone was going through this massive shift anyway.
Well, that's it. And the label literally fell apart. It wasn't like it was just me, you know what I mean? It was a lot of people. So I didn't have to take it so personally, you know. But obviously, you still do, you know. And you have so many like expectations for yourself, And to be honest, like, I just can't be asked being like fake about it anymore. I just think people shy away from talking about that stuff, and it's like, why? It's painful, it hurts, it's the reality. And I don't think like it's healthy for kids to be out there thinking that there's some like magical golden ticket that's gonna shoot you into the stars. Like, no, it's hard and it hurts, and like even if it goes well, like it's still hard and it still hurts. But it's worth it, obviously. I'm not trying to be miserable all the time, but it is the reality, you know what I mean? So I'm not asked about just talking about it anymore.
In what moments do you most feel like it's worth it? In what moments are you really kind of filled with that feeling?
In that moment on stage when like the crowd is singing my songs back to me, like every word, and that is everything, because it just doesn't get better for me.
I wanted to ask about tattoos as well, because I know that you've got tattoos of kind of famous female figures, right?
Some of them famous, some of them not famous, but yes.
Who have we got? What's the...
I've got, this is Winona Ryder.
Oh yeah.
She's a queen, we love Winona Ryder. It's my mum.
Nice.
It's Audrey Hepburn.
Nice.
That's my sister Debbie. She's special needs, she's amazing. And she always says, just saying. I've got Diana Ross up here. Can't really see her, but she's up there. You'll see her later. And I've got Emmeline Pankhurst.
Have you got plans for more?
Yeah, I have, but I don't know what I want to get yet. My arm's pretty full now, and I don't want to get any more. I don't want any dudes, and I don't want any more, like, I don't think I want any more women. So maybe I'll go into animals. I don't know. Who knows?
What female figures felt really important for you in the kind of process of creating this album?
My mum, my cousin Evie, my Taylor Swift, because she's a queen, and loads of people, like real people in my life, I think have inspired this album a lot, a hell of a lot. I think like I wouldn't have written it without them, and that kind of warmth and like advice and energy they put into me, I feel like I tried to put back into my music, and I tried to take some comfort out of, though they were my only source of comfort in that time, and so they've really inspired my record, as well as Diana Ross, obviously.
Yeah, thank you very much. Cheers, thank you.
Thank you so much.